Hello and welcome to the 34th episode of building a 2D Flutter game that has multiplayer support. Let's just tag the start of the episode. In the last episode, we basically rearranged a bunch of things. The arena was trying to already tell us about the players, but then we realized, well, if we want to send in the arena immediately, and not all players have registered yet with the game, then we can send an ID. Actually, an error, basically, a gRPC error, kind of told us that won't work the way we thought about it. And we're kind of in the middle of saying, okay, well, instead of sending the arena with already the players, we just sent the arena, which has the walls and the floor tiles, and maybe has the initial player positions in case we want to show something there, like, the spot, like a player will appear here or something like that. But basically what we're doing now then is to wait for the first actual game state that will be emitted by the game loop. And so once we get the game state, we can actually then go ahead and kind of initialize our game on the client side. And also what we can do, since this is a stream, once we get this working, we might have like some sort of a waiting screen where we say, okay, we're waiting for this. And it just tells us like waiting for players to join. So first we'll try to get this to work, and then we'll actually do that. And that should be the goal of this episode. I want to kind of get away from trying to do too much in each episode. I think I've been guilty of that. And the result of that is now that we have some code that's not super clean. I kind of just wanted to get, this working, get like a really simple thing working where we can see the player. Maybe we can even move it. But I think we'll slow down a little bit in the coming episodes and try to do this right, a little bit more correct. Been trying to raise a little bit too much here. But basically what we're trying to do here now, we were trying to, basically we had a packed player model, and we ran into the problem that we didn't know how to unpack it. So if you go to our proto file, and so basically our game state, right, that we're getting, the packed game state, will have a packed player model on it. But it seems like maybe we actually, maybe there's a way to unpack the game state. Maybe. Let's try to find the game state. Yeah, there's an unpack. So we actually need to say, we get an event, our game state is basically game state dot unpack. Oh, I need to import it first. Unpack the event.gamestate. So then the player would just be basically our game state of players. We don't need to map them anymore because they should be unpacked. So we're almost repeating ourselves here. Now since this is so easy, we can just probably say game state of players. Okay, and now we're good. So now basically what's happening here is we partially initialize our model, right? We create our model. We assign everything that comes to us from the arena. For now, we create a stats model for ourselves, and we create bullets just in case we shoot. And then basically what we do, we actually wait for the first game set event. And once we get that, that's when we can actually say, go ahead, init our players, and now we have a complete game model, and now we can actually start the game. And now we can actually start the rendering loop and everything. So let's actually go ahead and try that. That should actually work. So save. So what we're going to do is start the server again. And then on the Mac OS, we're going to start a client. And it seems like the Flutter folks are working hard. We got a Flutter upgrade yesterday, and there's a new one already. We are on the dev channel though, so we're going to see more than normal of those. And the reason why we are on the dev channel again is to show the to be able to show to basically run this on the Mac, right? In this Mac app here. So now it's still syncing files. Wondering why it's taking so long. It seems like it is stuck. Oh, you know what? Yes, it is stuck waiting for GameState events. That's what's probably going on. So there is no GameState event until another player joins. So we'll join a player from the other side. And now you can see that, yeah, that's kind of bad UI, right? Like, I think this is not working. Obviously, we need to have some sort of a screen that tells us we're waiting for more players, right? And maybe, obviously, then the whichever arena, whatever the when we create the client here, whatever we're getting back should probably tell us how many are still missing, things like that. But for now, we just try to get the minimum thing working. So now let's see. Okay, now we get this again. Can I start the game loop twice? So why are we getting this though? Oh, a certain not started. So actually this is good news. We were trying to start the game loop. Unfortunately now we need to stop everything because now the server's in this state of already haven't tried to start the game. So let's start the server again. Let's start our, unfortunately we can't really restart this easily here. So let's start our Mac application again. And so we should get again in the state where we're waiting. So we fixed the error. This should now work. And then basically also what we can do, we can then launch the phone. But let's wait for the Mac application to come up. Okay, Mac application came up. Now we can start the phone. This one is waiting. And basically it should, once the phone starts up, it should actually come on. Because then we have enough players, so then the game loop will start. Because what will happen is, then we'll schedule a tick, right? Once we schedule it to tick, okay, there you go. So we now have 2 players here. Very good. Why? I don't know why this might, I might have to restart this actually. Yeah. So yeah. Okay, so now we have 2 players. I feel like that is very successful. Considering like how the last 2 episodes maybe we didn't get too many. So you can see every time we get an update from the server, we fire thrust. That's also an interesting effect. I mean, we'll leave it like this actually. We leave it even though it is. Oh, okay. So this is a problem. Okay. See what's happening here? So anytime we get an event now, we run the app fresh. So we actually need to only do this once, right? Yeah. But you know, this will probably, and it's good that we logged that we detaching and attaching. That gives us a kind of the idea of what's happening. I wonder why they changed angle. That's an interesting effect. Okay, look at that. They keep changing angle a little bit. It seems almost like I'm getting my keyboard command sent. But they're both doing the same thing. So a lot of work that still remains, but we are getting a game model set up from the server. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop all this. The annoying thing is that we have to keep running this over here all over and over. And actually, I'll probably create. Let's call this run. Let's do something where we can just run this a little bit faster, right? So we create one window here. So those are the clients, and then we have the server here. Dart. And we're going to say server, so that will run the server. And then here we're going to say f Mac. This will run our Mac, and then we have another one, f Nexus, that will run it on our Nexus. So we'll get those ready and go back here. I'm going to close this. And so actually what I'm going to do though is I'm going to move this here. Resize this a little bit. Okay, so we get at least some log messages. They will be very small, but we'll be able to see them. So, okay. Next thing, we need to basically not do what we're doing. Instead, what we need to do is we need to have basically two things. Like basically, we have a stateless widget that means waiting for players, and all that's going to do is going to say text, like we have a child here, and text says and we're not going to even make it pretty. And then we have the actual app, right? That's the running game. And then we'll have the app that we had before. It's also a stateless widget. And basically what that now does, it takes the so why does it need a game model though? Yeah, so basically this one will take a game and a game model, and we'll basically have this code in it. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to say I have a stream builder. I'm going to have a builder function, build, and actually it's going to be a stream builder of GameState. It's going to have an initial data, we'll have initial data, which is basically, okay, and what else does it have? Initial data and a key, and as a stream. Okay, so the stream will get passed into us, so that will be the client event stream. So what type is that? It's going to be a game event stream. Initializes here. We don't need a key. Okay, so then this is going to be the game. Okay. All right, and so the initial data will be null. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll say that but the thing is that the game model will keep changing all the time, right? We don't want to rebuild the entire game widget all the time. That's not a good idea. What we actually want to pass in here, we want to pass in the state, the state stream itself, and most likely like a game model stream, something like that. So somewhere somewhere in here we can basically listen to that. Excuse me. Right, basically the game itself needs to update itself from, well, we need to basically update the game. Yeah, so basically that means we can actually keep the game model to ourselves. We give it the game, and then here we kind of update the game. And obviously, again, this is, we don't want to go too fast here. To like, this code needs to go somewhere else. We need to clean this up, but for now we are good. So what I want to do is I want to give it the game. I don't want to give it the game model because why does it need the game model? It needs it for these kind of things. Well, this update stream we also need to pass in a different way. So we don't give the game model. All we do, we give the game. So which means that basically, let's simplify this a little bit. If snapshot data is null, we return this. Otherwise, we do all the things that we want to do when we actually have a game. So now we have the snapshot. Snapshot has a game state, but we also have the game. So we will. So this app actually could be responsible for managing the events, right? So what we can do is we say we want to return the running game, but only once. And after that, we basically want to update we just want to update the game model every time. So basically, what you're going to do is we're going to create a game. In a way, like, we may need actually a stateful widget, but we'll see. So basically, if we have a game, then we return the game. Otherwise, what we'll do, return a running game, right? Oh no, hold on. If the game is null, then we return the running game. If not null, then we are done. Else, we're gonna hook some stuff up. We're gonna create a game model. We need our game model here. Then we basically say a game model dot init. What's the complaint now? We need to say init the players. Basically everything we're doing up here, right? So this code goes down here now. And then our game is a Batufo game. The running game now. No, hold on. That's correct. And then return. So actually what we can say, if the game is null, created, otherwise we don't. And then we return a running game from game. And then obviously to pass this, right? And then every time we get GameState snapshot of data, so let's say GameState is that dot GameState. Unpack it though. And then we basically have the game state, the players, we initialize, and then obviously what we still need to do is we need to then subscribe we basically need to update our game, right? Right, so we can actually move players and stuff like that. So now what we can do is the running app is basically just the my app, and what do we need? In the game model, that should be it. And no more of this. Actually, yes, we do need to pass the game state event stream as well. And that's the client dot games. And must be immutable. Yeah, I don't know why does it have to be immutable? Well, we can make it a stateful widget. That works. Okay, let's try that. Let's now let's go ahead here, and launch the server. Here we launch a Mac app. Actually, yes. And here we launch the Nexus app in a second. So let's just do the Mac app first and see what happens. And obviously what we can also do is, like, instead of having to relaunch everything, we can kind of have a reconnect kind of thing where everything gets refreshed. Basically the client would disconnect itself and reconnect itself. But for now, we'll keep it like this. Okay, directionality. Okay, so why is this so complicated? I just want to have a message that's just waiting for players. I don't even want to like fix this now. I just want to see if this works at all. So let's go waiting for players. Why is this not working? No directional equation which is ancestor. Okay, so let's just say we don't put text. We just make it red for now. It's most likely because we don't have this. Oh yeah, because we don't have. Yes, that's the problem actually. So this is what we actually should move out and into our here. So let's actually do that. Let's undo all the thing here because I think once we have a scaffold around this properly, then it will just work. Then that includes all the things at once. So basically around the stream builder here, or is it, what is it? I think it's body, right? And then okay, so now we have this inside a material app, and then obviously here we don't need it anymore. So which means we have to remove a bunch of these things. All right. So now let's try this again. I'm gonna just say reload. I'll restart to see if that works. But the thing is now the server thinks. Oh yeah, so now the server thought there are two clients connected, right? We're still having this issue. Well, because we're building a running game every time, it seems like. Yeah, we're creating a new one every time. So actually what we need to do instead is we need to have a running game here instead of a Batufo game. We will have a Batufo game, but we also will have a game right, so we have that, and then basically we just return the game widget, and so we don't reconstruct this every time. So this basically means like if we only on the very first time do we do anything, on the second time we just return the game widget. So this should now no longer cause us to okay, waiting for players, that's good. Now let's launch the Nexus one. I'm actually surprised why it's waiting for players, quite honestly. Because the server... Oh, you know what happened? Yes, we got a new game. Remember how we, in our code, we said, well, if the game is full, we create a new game. So that other game is now considered full, even though no one is playing in it. So basically we said here, get or create current game. We said if the game is empty, or the current game is full, well, then we create a new game. And so that's what's happening on. So that's why this guy is now waiting for players. So this is exactly what we wanted. So now we should be starting up our game here. And when it starts, that's when we should see both of them basically starting up. Both of them should then render the game. Okay, let's see that. Okay, now this one knows that this guy started and then this guy started too. Perfect. So that's good. I think we take that, we want to probably check that in. So what kind of change do we make? Yeah, so we properly wrapped basically the so we basically created the game start screen. So basically this happened actually on the client. Creating, waiting for players, screen, and properly starting game. Okay, so that's cool. So we got a few more minutes here. I kind of we have no way for a player to say I'm done. But if both right now basically we can do a hot reload and it actually works, right? So if we do a hot reload here, what should happen is this one should start waiting for games because the game is out of players. Well, oh no, but what does it have still have its same ID? No. Okay, so that's what I was expecting. So now if I do the same here, then now this one should be waiting for players too, but immediately since now they both joined, it comes back. So this is how it works. So basically we have 2-player games, and every time I start a new game, every time I go above 2 players, I create a new game, which is then empty, immediately fills the first player, and then waits for the next one. That is kind of cool. Obviously, we are like leaking games, right? We never clean up the games. That's another issue. So now we have a bunch of games on the server, but this is kind of okay to work with at least. So so now in the main Dart, actually, what we need to do here is whenever we get this event in, right? If we already had a game, we actually need to update our game model with the current game state. And then it should actually render things correctly. So we have our game. And for now, what we'll do, we'll make it, it's getting updated by itself, I think. So what we actually need is a game model. And it looks like, oh, that's part of the widget now. I'm going to just create a getter here. Game model. It can be on the widget. It doesn't hurt to be there. It could be either way, but so now the game model, we need to update it with things. We already have an init players one. So what does the GameState actually have? Sorry, kind of got myself lost there. Where are we now? We need to be over here. So let's look at the. That's not where I want to be either. So okay, this one has a list of players, and that's it. So actually, if we name this update, sorry, update players, we can just override the players with this. Which means now we're doing this every time anyways, but we'll still keep it in a separate block because we might be doing, in the future, we might be doing more things here than we're doing here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the server and I'm going to say that whenever I'm going to start the clients out with the velocity. Well, I want to look at something. I want to make sure that our player controller is totally disabled to make sure that this is actually then coming from the server. So basically, I want to make sure that this method is not being called. Seems like it's not. Right? So because what I want to make sure is I want to kind of make sure that we get all this data from the server. So now in the server, what I'll do, I will just do something. I will just do something really obvious. I will move the players up or something like that. So on the server, in the game loop, every time it ticks, right? So here we have this run controllers. Oh, this is why the angle changed. Okay, so actually, remember how our angle was changing? So that's actually happening. That was happening at least. It's not happening now. So actually I'm going to make it a little faster, and I'm going to. So they should be spinning like a lot. So let's restart our server. And let's actually restart these guys also. So and let's look at the client where we are actually doing this. And as I mentioned, we will pull this code into somewhere separately. But let's look at this. So we're getting snapshot data, and we are updating the game model, right? So that means that the angle of each player should now have been different, right? Then when we render this, so this should be now waiting for players, fine. But let's look a little more while we start the Nexus one up. So while we render this, we want to make sure that we render the player. So we give it a player model, right? And that is called from here, update UI. It's called here and tick, right? And I'm not sure why we're not getting that yet. We should be ticking because we're creating a game. Obviously, one might say, why don't we just only update? Okay, so we got some. Oh, it's because we were very slowly, right? The server is, yeah. We can see now that the players are actually spinning every 2 seconds, right? Okay, cool. So we're getting updates. That's cool. So actually, all I have to do now is in the server, make that. Oh, actually, in the game loop, right? The game loop. Make that tick duration more realistic. So how about we tick it every 200 milliseconds instead? Obviously now I need to restart everything again, but I want to see this and then check in that code, and then we'll start really thinking about things. So basically what we'll have to think about, I'm already going to start to talk about it a little bit, that basically right now the first implementation that we are going to do is to just send updates from the client to the server, like and I'm not even sure if you send actually key presses or if you just send like do the key press, my angle changed or something. And the server will keep sending, will basically simulate the game on the server entirely, right? And we can see now that we're spinning. This guy's still waiting, and you see that they were in sync, right? Like this guy came up later. Oh, you can see where I'm pointing at, but this guy came up later and was still in sync. So right now, basically, what we're doing, we're doing a very. You can see that is like janky, right? So if the server only updates us every 200 milliseconds, that means we will see jankiness, right? Because, or even if the server was a little faster, but depending on what your connection is like, then it will be janky. And you'll see like you maybe like you do a rotation, and then a few milliseconds later you can actually see that you rotated. That's definitely not how it can work. So what usually people do is they do something called interpolation extrapolation, and basically they're simulating on both ends. And this is the exact reason why we are writing the server in Dart, because we already have the controller code in Flutter in Dart. And as you remember, we took a bunch of time to separate out the controller code from the from the UI code. So the idea is that we can use the same controllers to simulate the world in both places. So what we'll do, we'll simulate the world in the server. But at the same time, while we're waiting for server updates, we are going to simulate the world also on the client. So, and basically we are guessing. Like for instance, let's just say a player is moving at the moment like this way, right? To the left. We are guessing that the player will keep moving like that with the same velocity until we hear from the server that maybe that player changed the velocity. And then the player will also give us information about where the player, according to the server simulation, now should be. And so then the on the client, we'll just basically correct ourselves. And there are different ways of doing this. And I've actually started reading a lot about this. It's a very interesting but also difficult problem. And I will probably take the next episode to kind of talk about these, what I read there. I'll tomorrow is a weekend, so I'm going to stream tomorrow, but most likely in the afternoon, and I will take the remaining time to keep reading about these things so I can explain everyone watching how we're going to approach this and why. So for now, I think we got some success. We are basically getting updates from the server. We are not getting, we cannot move the client yet because we can't send any inputs yet. But I think we reached some sort of a good place here, right? So for now, actually, I'm going to just check in this code and finish this episode. And the next episode, we actually have to take a few steps back and understand a little bit about how can we sync all these clients together and basically make the server something that's called the authoritative server. So I'm going to go ahead and check this in. I'm going to kill these guys. And we're going to look at what we did. So yeah, we just changed a little bit here to make the server move faster, like, so we can actually watch it better. And if you just renamed this method, actually didn't do that much here. Yeah, we didn't really do much, except that we now update. Yeah. Yep. So the main thing is that we did a client keep game model in sync on each server update, right? And the way we're doing this, just to be very, very clear, is not the way this is going to work. I'm just going to show this. The way we're doing it right now here is you're basically just saying, oh, here are your players now, right? So it could be that, well, now close everything, but let's just jump to the grid here and say, like, my player was here and the client thought it was moving this way, right? And the client kind of has it here now, but actually in the meantime, it started changing direction. And so suddenly it's now here. And our implementation now will do a jump, right? So you'll see like, boop, just changed. Like, and that looks also janky. So we have to figure out the better way to kind of sync to that. And there are more, like the unfortunately, the better you do it, the more smooth and whatever you do it, the more difficult it is. So I think on the next probably 1 or 2 episodes, we are going to actually study a few of those things that I found written, and then we'll basically try to implement them. So that's all for today. I'm going to commit this and create the end tag. Well, my terminal is now over here. So let's just do this here. So we have 34, git tag 30, episode 34 end. Okay, and thank you for watching. Make sure to come back. I'm planning again to stream tomorrow afternoon, depending on how long it takes me actually to work through the material that I found. But I don't want to do it all by myself, but definitely I want to kind of know what I'm talking about before I come on Twitch. But just keep an eye out. Somewhere in the afternoon, maybe late afternoon, I'll do an episode, and then at night again. All right, thank you for watching. Bye-bye. Oh, and I see there's some comment here. Black Clopy, if you're still there. Oh, no, you're not there. But basically the comment was here, the coding is so impressive, it's insane. I'm 2 years into college and I'm only slightly above beginner. Well, we all started at some point at that place. And quite honestly, I was typing with 2 fingers for the longest time. And then I just forced myself one day to try to use 10 fingers. And sometimes I still have to look at the keyboard, if you notice. So yeah, it takes practice, but and also understanding code arrangement and kind of keeping a understanding of how everything works. That is all experience and practice. So don't be discouraged. You'll just keep getting better. We all started at some point, and we all keep getting better as well. So, all right, see you next time.